Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off the proceedings for today by quoting Leo Tolstoy. One of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and nature shall never be broken. A very warm welcome to everyone present here for the final presentation of the internship program of IWSA and Flame University, wherein Aditi Narania worked on lesson plans for fifth grade students in creating inclusive educational modules on ecological restoration and preservation. I would request everyone to keep their videos and mics off unless required otherwise. I, Pawan Mulgun, and my co-host Sakshi Kothari are both students of SIS College of Management Studies, pursuing a postgraduate diploma in management, and were first introduced to IWSA when we interned with IWSA in the month of February 2021, where we worked on creating virtual tours of a pollinator studio and indoor air purifying plants, respectively. And now we both have volunteered as peer mentors for this project and for the project that IWSA is conducting along with Jai Hind College. I would now like to introduce our first guest for the evening, Dr. Pratima Shastri. A member of IWSA from Nagpur, Dr. Shastri is the president of Apanga Mahila Bal Vikas Sanstha, Nagpur. She was ex-HOD of Food Technology from the Department of Nagpur College. She is also the trustee of Ashadeep Divyang Rehabilitation Project, which strives to support the struggles of differently abled persons in various ways. Ashadeep Audiobook Center was started in 2017 to offer Drushti Seva to the individuals with visual disabilities. Dr. Shastri has co-authored a book on health, diet, diseases, and disease ailments, and published booklets and audio CDs on various health-related ailments. Our next guest for the evening is Professor Sairaj Patki. Professor Patki has a PhD in psychology from Savitribai Phule Pune University and an MA in clinical psychology. Currently, he is an assistant professor at Flame University, and he is also involved extremely passionately in photography, cooking, designing, and aero modeling. I would now like to introduce everyone to Aditi's mentor for this project from Flame University, Professor Jasmine Su. Professor Su has an MBA from Suffolk University, USA, and has a BA in Foreign Languages and Literature from National Chung Sing University from Taiwan. Currently, she is an assistant professor at Flame University. Aditi has been mentored by Ms. Vijaya Chakravarti, Dr. Suparna Kamath, and Dr. Swidal Surijo Shivkar from EVSA. Aditi, during her project, was also helped by many experts who shared their knowledge in various methods, and we are all extremely grateful to them and welcome them in this final presentation of the project. I would now request Dr. Swidal to introduce us all to IWSA as an organization, the internship program, and this particular project also. Over to you, Swidal, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Pavan. I'm honored to speak about Indian Women Scientists Association, a 48-year-old NGO marching successfully towards its golden jubilee. IFSA is a non-political organization with taking science to the masses as one of its mandates. Flame University is a Pune-based state private university pioneering in liberal education in the country. It has been set up with an idealistic vision and a social commitment to contribute to society in a noble manner. The IFSA Flame internship took shape in May 2021. Miss Aditi Narania, a first year communication studies student of Flame University, was willing to intern with IFSA for 5 weeks. The mentors, Dr. Vijay Chakravarti, Dr. Suparna Kamath, and myself, we came together to discuss, decide, and plan the flow of internship. The Grade 5 textbooks across boards, right from Maharashtra State Board to CBSE, ICSE, were gleaned and studied to shortlist the topics for lesson plans. 10 topics were given to Aditi, out of which one was compulsory, that is ecological restoration. Since United Nations has declared 2021 to 2030 as a decade of ecological restoration. While out of other 9 topics, Aditi chose food preservation. The mentors and Aditi interacted online bi-weekly for 2 hours, while otherwise we were in touch for discussions and problem solving. The internship consisted of designing the lesson plans, interviewing 7 experts: Ms. Prabha Rao, Mr. Anil Wagh, Mr. Rajesh Chaudhary, Ms. Katie Bagli, Mr. Julius Rego, Dr. Jnanendra Tiwari, and Ms. Neha Trivedi. who have vast experience in their respective fields, right from ecological restorations through plantations, food preservation, writing children's books, working with visually disabled individuals. A survey on traditional food preservation methods, along with peer mentors Ms. Sakshi Kothari and Mr. Pawan Mugun, brought insights to Aditi's work. The prepared lesson plans are accompanied by video with captions and audiobooks are recorded separately. Ms. Neha Trivedi from Xavier's Resource Center for Visually Challenged gave many valuable suggestions. A review meet was held in first week of July to assess Aditi's work. Reviewers Dr. Nutan Bakal, Ms. Nikita Pimpre, Ms. Deepa Shah and Ms. Archana Varan congratulated her work and shared their inputs which helped her in improvising and understanding the subject and details of planning the lessons. Dr. Pratima Shastri of Ashadeep Audiobook Center reviewed her audiobook. Dr. Shu, Aditi's faculty mentor, has been guiding her all along. Their guidance, views, and ample experience have been very helpful. All these discussions and reviews were to make the lesson plans child friendly and the study material inclusive. The internship was a package of teaching learning where Aditi presented on World Environment Day at IWSA, interviewed the experts, carried out Google survey which culminated into lesson plans, videos and audiobooks. Thank you so much.
I would now like to introduce Aditi Narania to everyone present here. Aditi is currently studying at Flame University, majoring in communication studies and minoring in marketing. She is very passionate about writing and has already published a book in October 2020 called Finding Paradise. I now ask Aditi to present her project.
Thank you for the incredible introduction. Good evening to everyone here. I'll be presenting my final project today, and I'd like to know firstly, if my screen is visible. Please let me know.
Yes, Aditi.
All right, thank you, ma'am. So I'm presenting my final work today. I won't be presenting the modules themselves, but I will be talking about their contents, and I'll be presenting both videos and audiobooks and describing them. Firstly, to start off, I would like to thank all of my mentors, my field mentors, my faculty mentor, and my incredible peer mentors. They gave incredible inputs and really helped improve my modules, lesson plan, and videos, and the survey that we conducted that I will talk about as well. All right. So just to introduce the project and what the project was about, I've done this as a part of the developmental activities program at Flame. And this was designed to get students to recognize the socioeconomic realities of India at the grassroots and understand how organizations have developed to address these problems and were required to volunteer at a nonprofit organization working for social change. Of all the sectors that I could be involved in, I was incredibly interested in environmental change and especially education. And I'm very glad that I got to do both of them in a way here. And so essentially, I've developed 2 self-learning modules, and they're on the topics of ecological restoration and food preservation, as mentioned before. So they're in the form of 2 text documents, 2 videos.
Aditi, you'll have to start again, I think.
All right. 1 second. All right. I hope this is visible now, ma'am.
Yes, Aditi.
All right. Thank you. All right. So this is in the form of the modules are in the form of 2 text documents for each topic, 2 videos, and 2 audiobooks. This is done with the goal of making this information inclusive and accessible to children of all abilities. This is loosely aimed at children of the age of 10 or 5th graders, and I think that was chosen since the topics that are covered in these modules are incredibly relevant to that age group in terms of making them interested and aware about all the things that such as goals, and all the information is incredibly relevant at that age to get them interested and aware about these things, and that's why this was the age group chosen. So the children that will be learning from this module are children who visit the IWSA Learning Garden, and along with that, there is another option I'm considering is publishing these modules. This is not finalized, but that is an option to make it available to more children. Um, in the process of this internship, I've interviewed 7 experts, as mentioned before. This was the highlight of my internship. I learned a lot from each of these interviews, and especially a lot of things were introduced to me. For example, seed bombing, which I will also talk about during interviews. Initially, my goal was to make the ecological restoration module centric to a method called the Miyawaki plantation method. But over the course of research and also these interviews, I realized that maybe introducing a more basic context to why we need ecological restoration and then getting into the Miyawaki plantation method as a solution would be more effective. And that's how that evolved. And now the module contains several other methods of doing plantations as well. Right, and this was also reviewed by external reviewers, that all these suggestions were incredible and helped really improve this module for sure. And I've tried my best to incorporate all of the suggestions that were possible towards the final leg of my development of this project. So I'll start with each module. So the first one is ecological restoration. And this is an overview of the contents of this module. So this is the text module that I'm talking about currently. The teacher's guide is a section that was very recently introduced to this module. And it's a way of making although this is a self-learning module, if teachers want to develop this into a full lesson, this provides the outcomes and goals of what the children would be learning in this module. Along with this is linked to the further reading section at the end of the modules, which provides additional links to more resources that can be looked at, or the resources I've looked at to develop this module itself. And since there are a lot of activities within the modules, some additional activities that can be tried instead or additionally to all the ones that are mentioned. So along with this, there are several aspects that I'll take a look at in specific. So the keyword crossword, a lot of textbooks and educational modules have keywords listed at the beginning. And this was my way of making this maybe not a section that children might overlook. And made it into a game where it's the same keywords, but they have to figure out what the keywords are based on some very basic hints and clues in the form of crossword hints. And they're very easy, since the assumption when all the students look at these modules is that they have little to no information about both topics. And so they're very easy hints that are very easy to guess. And they do get a little bit more context in this section as well about the keywords and a general view of what the chapter, rather the module, would look like. In the audiobook format, since a crossword cannot be integrated, this is in the form of MCQs. So the clues remain the same, but there are options given as answers. And this is a more effective way of presenting the same information in an engaging way in a fully audiobook audio medium. Next is find the word puzzle. This is present in both modules, and this was again my attempt at making a text or a paragraph more interesting to look at and maybe more engaging. So this essentially is information about biodiversity and related topics such as ecosystems and ecosystem services. But this is presented in the form of a challenge or a game where they have to find the hidden word. It's fairly easy, as the words, the letters highlighted spell out biodiversity, and that is the challenge. But I think this is a good way of having students look at the paragraph maybe 2 or 3 times to find it and really read and process the information presented. So this is there in both modules again. Next, this is the main activity of the first module, which is making sprouts. So the pictures were integrated towards the end and provide some visual comparison towards what the students might be doing versus something for them to compare it to. They explore the concept of germination, which is a very basic topic when it comes to plantations. And whether they've done this before or this is the first time they might be making sprouts themselves, one of the main aims of including an activity like this was when I had my interview with Miss Katie Bagley, my main takeaway from that was to have children be fascinated by science or by something. It's really great to have them explore it or observe it themselves. And watching a seed sprout is very simple. It's something that everyone can do. And it can be fascinating to do it yourself. And best of all, it can be eaten towards the end, and it has great nutritional value. So there are several benefits of this activity for sure. And again, this also has the aim of introducing them to germination. So even if they have made sprouts before, maybe this will have them look at it from an academic or science sense and looking at the science behind it. So this is one of the main activities of this module. After this is seed bombing. So I won't go into the specifics of the text itself, as the excerpt from the audiobook that we're looking at today is about seed bombing. So this method was introduced to me during my interview with Mr. Rajesh Chaudhary. And this, in my research, I hadn't come across seed bombing before, and I thought it was quite interesting. Within that interview, it was presented as maybe a less reliable method of planting trees, since it is more randomized and conventionally planted in locations that it's not protected environments, so it's less likely that they survive or get the water or nutrients that they require. And then I wanted to know more about this. So with my interview with Mr. Julius Rego, I asked about this again. And I definitely, in that interview, understood why it was unreliable. And so throughout both interviews, I gathered a little bit of information of how we can make this more efficient, and with things like planting during monsoons, as there is naturally more water available, along with planting in protected environments, from school campuses to maybe private land for the children. And so these have been incorporated within the module as well. Before the audiobook sample, we'll take a look at the video I've made for ecological restoration. I'll play the first few seconds, and please let me know if this is audible.
Welcome to the video on ecological restoration by Aditi Narania. We live in a world with growing
Is this audible?
Yes.
Please let me know, ma'am. All right, thank you.
cities. In the name of development, a lot of greenery and natural habitats have been replaced by construction and buildings. When habitats or homes of animals are destroyed, they have nowhere to go and they decrease in number. Not only that, with vehicles and factories, city air gets very polluted. Cities have little greenery to absorb the large amounts of harmful gases. Trees not only absorb carbon dioxide, but also help cool the area down. They absorb water from the soil and lose the excess water through the leaves. This process is known as transpiration and helps cool the surrounding areas. On the other hand, most of the materials buildings and roads are made of absorb heat. Materials such as asphalt, concrete, and other hard surfaces absorb heat. As a result of this, cities get hotter than surrounding areas, especially during summer. And so, an urban heat island is created which is an area within and around the city where the temperature is higher than surrounding rural areas. Moreover, city streets are narrow and surrounded by buildings and structures. This prevents air from circulating in the city to cool it down. This also leads to a buildup of pollutants in the air. The heat and pollution combined can cause several illnesses and respiratory difficulties. Thankfully for us, there is something we can do to reduce this, planting trees. But we need to plant a lot of trees to make a difference. Where is the space to do this in a city? The Miyawaki plantation method is a solution to these problems. It is a fast-growing, dense plantation done with species that grow naturally in that region. These trees are planted so close to each other that they compete for sunlight. In the race to get more sunlight, the trees grow taller faster. We have a full forest in just 3 years that can take care of itself. There are several other methods, but ensuring the plantations survive is always important. After planting trees, it is equally important to ensure they survive. It is recommended to plant trees in a protected environment, such as a school campus or private land. This ensures that the plantation receives the care it needs, from removing unwanted weeds to watering. Planting and taking care of a plantation can help restore an area that was destroyed due to a calamity. It is also important to understand the natural process of restoration in an area after it has been damaged or destroyed. After an area has been destroyed due to forest fires, for example, the first kind of life to grow back are pioneer species. Pioneer species like fungi or lichens can grow in tough environments and prepare the area for more plants and animals. They break down the minerals in the environment to form soil and simpler nutrients in the soil. In this way, they prepare the area for more species such as grasses to grow. And soon more plants and animals are able to grow and live there. Another important kind of organism in an ecosystem are keystone species. Let's take an ocean, for example, where an important animal is a shark. In an ocean, sharks feed on rays. Rays feed on crabs and shrimp. One day, due to fishing, the number of sharks reduced. As no sharks are eating rays, the number of rays increases. There are more rays now, and so they eat more. The number of crabs and shrimp reduce. There is not enough food left, and hence the number of rays also decreases. The removal of one kind of animal, shark, has an effect on the rest of the animals of the area. This is a keystone species. Some other examples of keystone species are the peepal tree, cluster fig, banyan tree, and starfish. Ecosystem restoration is essential currently, especially in cities where there is a lot of pollution. From participating in plantations to reuse, reduce, recycle, there are several things you can do for the cause. You can come up with several innovative ideas yourself. This module is coming to an end, but it is your turn to begin doing something for our planet. Thank you.
All right, that was the video for ecological restoration. And again, the subtitles along with the narration are a means of making it more accessible. All right, so again, this is the audiobook. So this is a short 1-minute sample from the audiobook, and this is the section on seed bombing from the module.
There are several other ways of planting trees, such as seed bombing. Title 8: Seed bombing. This method involves making a small ball of soil with 2 to 3 seeds in the middle. The soil is mixed with several fertilizers and nutrients for the plant. It is dried from the outside and left moist on the inside. These seed balls can be dispersed in open areas such as hills and other places, but are ideally planted in a protected environment to improve their chances of survival. They can even be dropped from planes in large numbers, hence are called seed bombs. These can only be planted during monsoons to ensure they get water. They have a low chance of growing successfully, and it is difficult to go back and check how successful the method was due to the large scale and random distribution, and hence this method is often not recommended. Instead of planting 1,000 seeds and not being able to take care of them, it is better to plant 10 and ensure they survive and grow.
All right. So the last point that was made there is something that I also learned during my interviews, especially, is the importance of ensuring that plantations survive, and that it's far better to ensure that a few amount of trees survive and grow tall and grow to their maximum rather than planting 1,000 seeds and not having them grow because it was not in a protected environment or there was no one to take care of them. Um, all right, so I'll move on to the next module on food preservation. So again, this has the teacher's guide and it has several similar elements to the first one. One element that I haven't talked about yet is the glossary. That was creating this module, and it's a page with all of the important keywords with their definitions or explanations. And this was a great way of providing more clarity at the end of the module. One of the suggestions I'd gotten in the review meeting was the difference between food preservation, food processing, and food packaging was not exactly clear. Although I've gone back and made the change in the video and module as well. The glossary, I think, makes it, clearer to the children as they can look at the difference between each of them and sort of understand. Along with this, there is a what have you learned section that is in both of the modules. And this is KASH Analysis, which I will talk about again towards the end of this presentation. But this is an element where they evaluate what they've learned so far, or what they might have learned overall in both modules. So in this one, this module, the main activity is on food preservation methods. And this involves taking an apple slice and placing different apple slices in different places, or carrying out different methods of food preservation with each. So this again involves learning by doing. So they're learning about several methods of food preservation, from drying to freezing, etc. And I think this was a good way of introducing methods themselves. So this is why this is towards the beginning of the module. And again, there are some illustrations and pictures for better understanding. This again is followed by the hidden word puzzle that I have talked about. It's a paragraph about preservation, and the hidden word describes the hidden word is preservation. Then this is the Ask Your Granny survey and interview. This, I believe, is the best part of this module itself, to sort of get information on methods of food preservation that are carried out in India across households. We conducted a survey via Google Forms, and we aimed to get 100 responses, but we ended up getting 107 responses, which was incredible. And I think that really resulted because we spent a lot of time to ensure that the Google form was interesting and that people were willing to fill it out. We kept it short, and we structured it in a way would get maximum responses, and it seemed to work. So we got responses from several age groups, from 10 to 17, 18 to 24, 25 to 49, and 50 plus. And what we got so many responses, I couldn't include all of the methods in my module. And that's when I realized how important it was for maybe children themselves to conduct a survey like this or to gather information themselves. And that's when this turned into an activity that was incorporated in the module itself. So in the module, this is presented as an interview where the children themselves ask their grannies or ask their family members about food preservation methods they have been following. And I myself, during making of this module, learned a lot from my family. And I think even if students get to do that by interacting with theirs, that's incredible. And they would ask the same questions that we asked in our survey in their interview. And I think this is a great way of them gathering information about their traditions and maybe learning more about their culture, and ensure that some methods that have been lost or are being forgotten can be revived in some sense. Since I myself have noticed that a lot of things that my grandmother was doing, my mother doesn't do anymore. And so maybe we can preserve a part of our culture along with preserving food. So next, this element is dispersed throughout both modules, is stories and facts. So they just provide some additional information and some fun facts, such as the chips example that I've shown here. And they're usually more relatable to the daily lives of students rather than all the other methods and stories that we're looking at. So yeah, these are dispersed throughout both modules. The ends of both modules contain sustainable development goals. Now, this is the excerpt from this module that we'll be looking at, so I won't get into the specifics too much. But since these are very, again, important for children to learn about at this age, and just know at the end. So, I mean, the reason they're at the end is because in both modules, they would get information about ecological restoration and food preservation and truly understand it. And then ending with sustainable development goals gives them something to do in the future and to look towards, as it's a larger body working towards this goal. And there's some methods of maybe working towards this goal that they can do themselves in their daily lives that are described in this section as we'll here. So, all right, I won't describe this further. First, we have the video on food preservation. So we'll watch this first.
Welcome to the video on food preservation by Aditi Narania. Food, water, shelter are our three important basic needs. Food or nutrition is one of these needs. We need a certain amount of nutrition to survive. But during times of crisis, such as floods, lockdown, etc., food may not be easily available. In times like these, where fresh food is not easily available, we rely on preserved food to get our nutrition. Before we understand preservation further, let's play a game. Put some vegetables and fruits you can find at home in a bag. Go to www.healthline.com/nutrition. On the top right, click the search button and type the name of your fruit or vegetable. Note down the following points about their nutritional value: calories, water, protein, carbs, sugar, fiber, fat. Note these down for each fruit and vegetable in the bag on paper flashcards or sticky notes. If you're playing with one friend, both take a vegetable out of the bag without looking. Without looking at the card, pick a nutritional value that you think will be the highest. For example, if you picked watermelon, pick water as you know it has high water content. If your friend has a fruit or vegetable with a lower water content, you win. Play best of 3. Do this 3 times and whoever wins more rounds wins the game. You should now have an idea about the nutritional values of several fruits and veggies. Let's get back to how we can preserve this nutrition. We preserve food to make it last longer. This process slows down or kills disease-causing bacteria. This ensures food is healthy to eat for a longer period of time and not cause disease. Nowadays, preservation is more than just a means of making food at home last longer. It allows food that grows in specific regions, such as Alfonso mango varieties, for example, to be available across India and around the world. It allows regional food to be available to other regions and seasonal food to be available in other seasons. How many methods of doing preservation can you think of? One example is milk. Milk is pasteurized to make sure it is safe to drink and lasts longer. In India, milk is heated at 72 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds and immediately cooled down to less than 4 degrees Celsius. This ensures milk is safe to drink. There are some other common methods of preservation, such as refrigeration, freezing, and pickling. In India, it was common to dry foods in the sun to preserve them, such as papad, raw mango, amla, etc. Many kinds of meats are preserved using salt. Dry salt is used to cover the food, and this prevents the growth of microorganisms. Murabba, a sweet fruit preserve, is another method of preservation prepared with sugar, fruits, and spices. There are several modern methods of preservation, from pasteurization to chemical additives. Packaging also ensures food is not spoiled by external factors such as rough handling, water, disease-causing microorganisms, etc. Food preservation can also be a means to reduce wastage of food. The second Sustainable Development Goal is to achieve zero hunger by 2030. Preserving food can ensure we eat all the food we produce, hence prevent wastage and help move towards the goal. Using traditional methods of preservation your family has been using can also help preserve a part of our culture. So ask your family and start preserving. Thank you.
All right. That was the video on food preservation. And now we'll take a look at the audiobook. So the audiobook is about sustainable development goals. It's the one of the last sections. This is there in both, but this part, especially in the food preservation module, it has an emphasis on zero hunger, which is the second sustainable development goal.
Title 9: Sustainable Development Goals. In 2015, world leaders agreed to 17 Sustainable Development Goals to create a better world by 2030. The second goal is zero hunger. To achieve zero hunger in the world and ensure everyone is being fed well, it is important to also ensure the food that is being produced is not being wasted. Food preservation methods can help preserve excess food and prevent wastage. There are other methods to ensure food is consumed efficiently. For example, when we buy a watermelon, we often eat the red pulp and throw the rind away. To reduce wastage, any excess red watermelon pulp can be sun-dried or dehydrated in the oven at the lowest setting to last longer. This dehydrated pulp has great flavor and makes a good snack. The white rind can be used as a substitute for cucumbers in salads and curries. The seeds have a great nutritional value as well. They can boost your immunity and metabolism. They have several health benefits. They are often roasted or peeled before eating. Pumpkin, melon, and sunflower seeds are also known to be good for your health. There are several other parts of produce that can and should be eaten instead of being thrown away that you can find yourself. Just ask your parents, grandparents, and relatives about what they have been doing to preserve food and avoid wastage. You can learn a lot.
All right. That was the audiobook excerpt. Just to briefly describe some of the other things that I did during this internship. This was mentioned before, but I did do a presentation on the Miyawaki plantation method on World Environment Day at IWSA. It was an incredible opportunity. And then I did the Ask Your Granny survey, which again, it was incredible that we got the amount of responses that we did. And it definitely helped. We have incorporated a lot of the information gathered from that survey in the module. Along with that, I was also asked to peer mentor a group of students from Jai Hind and help them out with their internship. All right, so as I said before, both modules end with KASH analysis, which is the knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits that you've gained through the module. And for me, it would only be fitting to end my final presentation with a KASH analysis of the whole project and the internship. So I mean, obviously, the knowledge I've gained about food preservation and ecological restoration is a lot. I've learned a lot, especially Miyawaki plantations for sure. And I've learned so much more. I couldn't stop talking about how much I've learned. My attitude definitely has changed towards realizing the importance of ecological restoration and really doing something more than just a theoretical description of here are plantations, but really getting involved practically. And that is something I for sure plan on doing in the future. Along with that, I've definitely gotten more appreciative of traditional food preservation methods and understanding the methods that my grandparents or older generations have done and becoming aware of them and trying to incorporate them into my life. Along with that, since I conducted a lot of interviews, I would say my interviewing skills have definitely improved. Along with time management, which is the given since I had to time myself and do a lot of things in the given amount of time frame that we had for this entire internship, along with simplifying complex concepts. So I'd heard this before that you never truly understand something until you can explain it to a child. And for me, making these modules is my way of doing that, where to explain it and simplify concepts such as the urban heat island effect, the Miyawaki plantation method, and a lot of things that are explored here, I had to understand them very well myself to be able to simplify it. And I think that's another thing that I've learned to do in this internship. Habits, one of the activities in the ecological restoration module is gifting plants on your birthday or planting trees on your birthday. And the suggestion was to gift plants such as mint, tulsi, or basil that can be used in the kitchen, and you have some incentive to use them and take care of them. And that's one thing that I definitely will incorporate into my life, along with reducing food wastage. As you heard in the audiobook, where I talk about watermelon and using it fully, and several parts of produce that we throw away, although they can be used and they're very much edible and have nutritional value. That's something that I've learned about and will definitely incorporate as well. The last thing is, this is a quote I came across during this project, and I think really encapsulates my aim with making these modules the way that they are, which is tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. And I really hope I've done that successfully. So with that, I end my quite long presentation. Thank you.
Well done, Aditi. Well done. I now ask Dr. Pratima to share her views on Aditi's presentation and her project as well. Pratima ma'am, can you unmute yourself, or should I just?
Yes, I am here.
Yeah.
It was very, I would say excellent presentation, excellent models, and the concepts were very clear. I would say that like lesson modules and all this idea is not really, I'm not very much conversant with these steps of communication and all that, but it was very clear. I would appreciate one thing, her concepts were very clear. And whatever she wanted to say, she has said it in a very simple way. She had sent me one audiobook, and that was a sample. And there also I had reported that the language is very good. it is a flowy language, the language flow, and especially no complicated words, very simple things. And when I uh, listened today and watched the other modules like food preservation and all, the activities which she has suggested, they are really very good activities. That means very simple activities, don't require much of the, like say, equipment or something, or something to be purchased and all that. Just simple activities, but the concept is put up very nicely. The As far as the videos and the audio, that the quality of recording, and that is also very good. I would say I would say it is A grade. Everything was very nice. And just now there was a question in the chat box, and maybe I think Aditi is required to answer it. That don't you think that the nutritive value would go down on preservation? So, what is her opinion? In fact, I have put my opinion in the chat box, but what would she like to say?
Right. I'm just looking at this now. I would say definitely fresh food is better. But in terms of preserving nutrition, rather than making a comparison between fresh food and preserved food, I've made a comparison with the different methods of food preservation, especially traditional versus modern. So I think that's the perspective I've looked at. And I hope, I mean, in the module, maybe it's clearer than the videos and the sample audiobooks I've shown. So yes, I can share the module if that provides more clarification.
Yeah, I mean, one point is, when generally the food is seasonal, the production of food is seasonal, and if it is not preserved, it will be wasted. So it's always better to have the food at all. That is,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, always people say that why should preserve a food? Food preservation causes loss of nutrients. But then if you don't preserve, it leads to loss of food itself. So, and that is why the traditional methods are not really causing so much loss of nutrients. And of course, the traditional method, that time the technology was not there. If you have better technology to retain better nutritive value, you should go for it, isn't it? So you have to change with the time. The the preservation methods go on changing with the time. Okay, the traditional methods we must know because they are cost effective. The new methods, they are more fancy, they are they are more costly, but the like the pleasure you get is also much more. So it's here to optimize. But it was overall a very nice presentation and very nice development of the idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratima ma'am. Professor Sairaj Patki, we would also like to get your comments or your remarks on project, sir.
First of all, it's an honor to be with you all and to see how that mentoring and how the guidance has really brought out the best in Aditi. And it's really wonderful to see the kind of work she's done. And I was reminded of one small project when she said that, it's more about how the plantations also have to sustain. Somebody has to take care of them. So I was reminded of a small project that one of our biology professors has started, wherein each student, they had taken care of one tree on campus, and then they passed it on to the next batch. So it was almost like being a parent for one tree on campus and then passing it on to the next batch when they graduated. So I think when we have these this kind of sustenance would definitely grow. So wonderful ideas. Some of the activities, like I've mentioned in the chat as well, asking your granny, asking your grandparents as to what are the methods, or the small activities, something like a trump card wherein students are exchanging those cards and learning about the nutritional value through card games. These are some wonderful activities which are very cost effective, can be done in local languages, and you're training them through wonderful activities. So really, really great initiative. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you so much, Patki sir. I'd now like to ask Professor Su to give her inputs to Aditi.
Okay. I just want to congratulate Aditi for completing this project. I was invited to a review session earlier, so I have seen how much she was able to incorporate the feedback from the earlier review into the final project. So it was excellent work, and I am pleased to actually see the growth that she has undertaken over this short period of time. And I think especially want to thank the mentors, the field mentors, as well as the subject expertise. As you can see, to actually bring this project to current shape, it takes an army, a village to actually make it happen. And the good news is the materials that she has produced will be able
Yeah.
to stay digitally and will be able to provide value to all the future learners who come across with IWSA. So just want to thank the organization for providing Aditi such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine ma'am. I now open the floor for any more questions if we have. I believe Nutan ma'am was also there during our review session the last time around. Nutan ma'am?
Yes, yes, I was there while the Zoom meeting was there, and I can see Aditi has incorporated many of our feedback, and that was good. It is excellent presentation. Lot of work, lot of efforts have been taken by Aditi, and with such confidence she has presented today that I'm really proud of her. In such a short period of time, she has done so many things like reviewing, interviewing, then that questionnaires, puzzles, so many things she has incorporated. So it can be a best lesson for fifth grade students. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much. And congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nutan ma'am. Any more questions? I guess Deepti ma'am, you had some.
Actually, I don't have a question, but just observation. I'm Sureka Zinde. Aditi, you've done a remarkable job in putting this together, bringing scientific information to the level of students is really a challenge. And very often, several of us who think we know it all, when it comes to explaining to little children, we realize we don't know it. And putting it in terms the way they would understand has been and is a very difficult task. And more, not only that, you have to make it interesting, and that's what you've been able to do through this project. So I congratulate you on your efforts, and I'm sure you've also learned a lot. The one point I thought I would have liked to see in this is that use the word sustainable developmental goals as some of the criteria under which you're bringing out this 10 points or whatever, and you've chosen two of them. I think the term sustainable development goals also needs explanation to the children. I think maybe I don't know how you'll do it. You seem to be very good at bringing it in clarity to the child. I think that needs attention. And maybe that could be the very first point. How you do it, I leave it to you. But as a child, I would like to know what it really means. Sustainable development goals, these are big terms. Afterwards, what follows is clear. But the very first three words require attention. So I'm sure you'll find a nice way of bringing that up pictorially or otherwise in an audio system. So all the very best to you, and keep doing well. We look forward to meeting up again on another project with you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Sureka ma'am, so much. Any more questions or feedbacks?
Hello, Aditi. I am Priya Jacob from IWSA. I was just giving a thought on, when we are talking about ecological restoration, what are the current challenges we are facing in a lighter tone, very lighter tone. Like everybody is trying to plant trees in every corner, nook and corner, but are the trees really coming? We are facing a lot of issues in every nook and corner, access to water, so some light mention about it. When we are talking about planting trees, we are also facing some challenges in the current time, so that the child is always aware when he goes out. I just suggesting just a thought on this part. Thank, thank you, Aditi.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Priya ma'am. Sunita ma'am is also there in the meeting, chairperson of the trustees of IWSA. Sunita Mahajan ma'am. Hello, Sunita ma'am, are you there? Okay. I can't see her. If there are no more questions or feedbacks, I'd like to request Suparna ma'am to give her inputs and then also to conclude the event with the vote of thanks.
Yeah, hello, Pavan. I'm there.
Yes, ma'am.
You can hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Sure. Thanks, Pavan. Thanks for starting